What's going on, guys? We are live for another episode of Bogey Free this week. We're going to be talking about some WGC Match play. We just watched the selection show happen, so we know all the groups now. And we will very briefly talk about the DR event. But before we get into that, I want to introduce Jimmy, as always, at DFS. Jimmy, what's going on, man?
What's up, dude? Ready to. I'm actually really fired up about the match play tonight. I'm fired up for our guest as well. We are missing Evan. He is the hangover from St. Patrick's Day seems to have extended to a 48-hour, 72-hour affair. So we're operating without him. But in his stead, I think our guest is it Steed or Stead? Either way, our guest is going to do great. So I'm fired up to get into this new format and new scoring. So I think it's going to be an awesome podcast.
Yeah, I hope so. I tweeted out, I think Saturday night, I was like, I wasn't going to even really have a guest on this week because I figured it was just this DR dog shit that was going to be going on. But Ryan was free to come on and join us. What's going on, man? How are we doing tonight?
Well, as you can see, I am in my car. I'm not homeless at all, but when you have kids and you have to be quiet at night, you do what you have to do. So it's just ironic that the first time this has happened, I'm doing a video podcast with Matt on the Golflandia pod. We just do audio. So this is a little bit different. This is my car. Nice to see you.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, we're luckily, I think it's definitely more downloads for listens than on YouTube, but we throw this up there for people who want to follow along during the show. So with that, let's quickly. I'll just send out a big congrats to Daddy Biggs, who took down the Listener League this week with a nice 6-6 lineup, and the FF Minimalist. I think this is the second week in a row in second place for him, so he's got to get off the schneid one of these days. But we won't spend too much time on that because we do have, well, I guess I'll call it like 1.5 events this week. I don't really want to call it 2 full events. But real quick, I mean, we should talk about it because they are offering it on as a slate. Jimmy brought up an interesting point before we started recording. He was talking about maybe some qualifiers. So I don't know. I mean, Ryan, is there anybody worth talking about for down at Punta Cana?
No, I mean, not too much. Like you said, we probably should touch on it just because they're offering DraftKings contests. I think the number one thing you have to figure out is what to do with Griot. He should win. He's playing better than anybody. He's extremely motivated because he's not in the Masters yet. Everything is pointing towards him winning. So I think if I play, it's going to be with him. And you can also cross off probably 2/3 of the field. They have basically anybody who they could find to put in this field. They did. Guys who are literally retired, playing on the mini league tours, playing on the senior tour. This is an ugly, ugly field.
Yeah, I mean, we have Tony Romo in the field. Like, that pretty much tells you all you need to know about what's going on down in DR this week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Tony Romo, sort of a headliner here.
No, it's true.
Did you see ESPN Stats and Info tweeted out? He's like, 20,000 plus 20,000 this week.
Dude, on 5 dimes, it's plus 10,000 or something.
You couldn't pay me enough to put a cent on him to even make the cut. So I'm all set there.
Really? What do you think his actual odds are to make the cut now that we brought that up and there's an Abbey bet like on the go here for the next week? We could just make the cut at the Abbey bet. We know where you stand. What do you think his actual odds are to make the cut?
I would say 12-1, 10-1, something like that.
Interesting. He withdrew after shooting plus 80 at his most recent event. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's all the Tony Romo talk we need.
Yeah.
Yeah. No interest there. I think for anyone who's playing, just choose the guys you know. The PGA Tour players, I mean, even down in the value range, you can get guys like Harold Varner and Derek Fathauer, and I mean, even Matt Every. It's gross, but I mean, these guys at least play on the main tour, so that's kind of where I would target. In terms of guys who are going to win, I'm totally staying on brand and I'll say Martin Flores. And I will definitely have a lot of him, but he's not going to win. So I'll take Grillo to win, and I'll have a lot of Flores. That's about it.
What about you, Jimmy? Give me 2 or 3 guys so that I don't get too nauseous over here.
In my singular lineup on DraftKings that I'm playing here, in honor of Ryan, I have Flores in there. I also think, and I'm just gonna throw out some guys just based on sort of their recent form. Grillo is there for obvious reasons, so I won't recount what Ryan said. I think the European guys are interesting. Dunn and Dunn and Wood. Connors just showed well with his flash before his meltdown on Sunday. The Canadian kid Kelly Craft popped up on a leaderboard recently, hitting his irons pretty well. Trey Mullinax, I think, is viable, but it's hard to get excited about anybody in this field, really. Like Furyk is playing. I'm not really sure what Furyk's doing down here, trying to get his groove back, maybe. Sabatini is interesting, but I think McDowell makes maybe the most interesting play to me at 98.
Sure, you because just can't pay these prices for these guys. Yeah, they're just so expensive. And I was looking at it with odds and stuff. I love GMAC this week, but are you betting him at 18-1 or 20?
Oh God, no! I'm not. I don't think I'm betting anybody in this tournament.
No, I think the one guy who may be popular, just because I've been seeing the name a lot, is going to be Trey Mullinax. I love him too. He seems like he's the type of bomber who would succeed here. He played here on the web.com tour and played well. So that's one guy. If you are just looking for chalk to avoid, I would probably avoid Trey Mullinax.
Yeah, I think the only guy that I'm interested in adding that you guys haven't touched on yet, and it's just I'm such a fish. I always end up playing him is Robert Garrigus. I think I like him a little bit this week, but other than that, I could really give 2 shits about this, and I probably won't make a lineup. So
I'm just looking through here. Fabrizio Zanotti makes maybe an interesting play. Been playing kind of well on the European tour. That he'll be low on for a GPP play maybe. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just too fired up about this match play, and it was pissing me off today because so many people were complaining about it, and I was just like, really? Why can't we have nice things? Why can't we just act like cool? They actually listened, right? Everybody bitches about DraftKings all the time that there's no match play, whatever. They figured it out. They came up with scoring for it. Play it and relax yourselves. Jesus Christ, it bugs me out so much. But that's my little I don't know. Everybody was like, everybody.
I agree. Props to DraftKings.
Yeah, because it's cool, and it should be an event when you have all of these guys in the field for an event. You should be able to play it on DraftKings. Mm-hmm. So for those of you that are not aware, I'll just give a quick rundown of the scoring and everything. It's basically 3 points for every hole that you win, 5-point bonus for matches won, and if you get 3 consecutive holes won, you get a 5-point bonus. So it's really very tightly linked, obviously, to the match play. There's no crazy eagle, birdie, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just you win the hole, you lose the hole, or you have it. So should be pretty interesting. Jimmy, why don't you hit us with some of the course info, things that we're looking for here?
Well, we're playing Austin Country Club, 3rd year that's been here. I found some PGA Tour media stats for the last 2 years, and I built my usual, I call it an ATK card. You can find it on my Twitter. But it's got 5 holes that are 5 par 4s that are under 400 yards, 4 that are over 450. Those kind of define the par 4s in terms of difficulty. The short ones average almost a stroke under par, while the long ones average a half stroke over par. The par 5s, there's 3 of them, and they are where a ton of scoring takes place. So, I mean, that's sort of where strokes will be gained and lost around the golf course. The rest of the holes, the par 3s and the mid-leg par 4s, play even to par. Last 2 years, this course was taken apart from a scoring perspective, averaged 1.45 strokes under par. So they want it to be a fun, aggressive event, lots of birdies, lots of scoring. It is a Pete Dye design. It goes back to 1984, I think. So, there are some interesting looks around the course. It is the nines are very different. So they actually flipped the nines for this event versus the way the course is normally played. But I mean, the guys are going to be able to score. The Bombers have a distinct advantage on the par fives, but it's not the type of course that takes your shorter hitters out of it either. So a guy like a solid long iron player that's a good putter, like a Hadwin maybe, something like that. I could see having some success around here. But I think your course maybe in fit is secondary to everything else this week. I think the course is really not that important compared to the individual matchups. It's match play. So, who cares about the par 5 fifth or par 5 16th where guys are going to score? Shit, guys might not even get to that hole.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, I think the course comes secondary to the individual matchup and how you see things going down.
Yeah, and I think that there's I think 16, 17, 18 is like par 3, par 5, par 4. So at least it's sort of balanced out where you're not definitely getting those par 3s early and you don't see an extra par 5 or whatever. So there's definitely part of that. Real quick, for those of you, again, who aren't really familiar with this event, it's basically round robin play in groups of 4. There's 16 different groups. So we're just going to go through each of the groups and just quickly hit on, are we looking at sort of the favorites moving through, or are we thinking that there could be some upsets? So we'll start with Group 1, DJ, Kisner, Hadwin, and Wiesberger. Ryan, what are you thinking about this group? Is there any shot somebody takes down DJ?
No. Kisner is playing awful. Wiesberger is playing awful. And I just don't think Hadwin has the firepower. He's obviously a great putter, which is super important in match play. But we need birdies. We need firepower. He's a defending champion. I mean, he's going to roll.
Yep. Agree. Jimmy, anything?
Ditto. I think if you want to get contrarian, so here's what I think just in general before we get too far into it makes this week really interesting is if you're going after some of the big GPPs, you're talking like the $5 and it's 95,000 people. There's a lot of different ways things can go, and I think there's gonna by the time we get to Wednesday, and again lineups I believe lock Wednesday, guys. So it's not normal day, but I think you're gonna have some ultra chalk. And you're going to have to find some ways to pivot around that to be different this week. So I think if you want to be contrarian in this group, Hadwin is the play, but otherwise it's DJ and it's nobody's close.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some groups that are more of a toss up that I'll probably, if I decide to pay 11.8 for anybody, which I usually don't, that I wouldn't mind it being Dustin Johnson. So.
Yeah, and I kind of like what you're saying, Jimmy, because, I mean, I guess we can talk about the strategy a bit here, but I think it's better if you're trying to fade the chalk and you're trying to fade someone like DJ, I feel like it's better for us just to fade him than try and pick a guy who's going to beat him, right? Like, pick guys from the other brackets who could advance further, but I'm not going to pick one of these guys because there's a very good chance he's still going to win his group,
Yeah. But, interesting point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then again, this is why I'm excited for this week because we really have nothing to go off of, and there are definitely going to be like things that we notice on Saturday where we're like, shit, we should have known that, right? But we just have nothing to base it off of right now. Yeah. The second group here I think is a little interesting to me. You have JT at the top, but then you have Molinari, Kazire, and Luke List. Jimmy, what are you thinking? Justin Lewis Thomas pulls it off, or what?
I mean, he should. He rates out really well and like everything you want. Also, he's a killer. I mean, and nobody like Luke List in the tee to green game can compete with him. But I don't see Luke List playing consistently enough to like do that and get out of this bracket. So I think it's Thomas, and I mean, there's a lot of talent here, but I don't see Kazire or Molinari taking down Thomas. That said, Molinari hung with Thomas down the stretch at the PGA last year.
Yeah, that's true.
But like when you look at their match play records, Molinari is just not good. JT's not actually that good either, which is what makes this the most interesting one because nobody's really good in this bracket. But like just pure talent and scoring ability, it's JT.
What about you, Ryan? You taking any shots here, or You going with JT?
Absolutely. Nope. Absolutely. I think Luke List can steal this one. Did you bring up what the tiebreaker is in the round robins?
No.
I don't actually know what it is.
I'm not sure either. I think
I've got it. Hang on, I've got it in my article. I just have.
I thought it was like the aggregate score, based on like the number of holes won, something like that.
I got it.
Should kind of consider that. Yeah, go ahead.
Ties for first place in a group are broken by sudden death, stroke play, playoff, beginning on hole 1.
Oh, okay. So that's new, which is awesome. Because what I'm saying is Luke List could technically win this group and still lose to Justin Thomas. He doesn't have to beat him if Thomas loses to Kazire or Molinari or something like that. So I just love his recent form. The ball striking obviously is always there. The putting comes and goes, mostly goes. But he's hot. He wants to win. And Justin Thomas, like you said, he's never made it out of his pod here. He's 0 for 2. So I will take a shot here with Luke List.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, I'm a bit of a JT fanboy, so I can't really I can't really endorse anything but JT here. But
I think this is a pod I fade.
Yeah.
Like, just the more I think about it, I don't think I want to play any of these guys.
No.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I could see whoever gets out of this, whether it's JT or List, I mean, or even really any of them. I could see any of them going like reasonably far if they get out. You know what I mean? Like, I think that this could be an interesting group. As we keep going, this is another pretty good group. I forget who it was on Golf Channel before. He basically said every single group was arguably the most difficult group, but we got Rom, Epi Barnrat, Ches, and Keegan. Jimmy, I mean, this isn't worth talking about, right? Like, it's Rom.
I mean, that's the easy thing to say, but you've got.
No, it's the right thing to say.
It is, and I mean, it's not close. But if you, I'm the contrarian, so I'll go the other way for the pod, and argument's sake, is Kiridesh, who's just kind of red hot. Sans the performance last week, but he's crushing it. He just won the Perth. He's got a good match play record. So he could upset this pod, and he could go deep into this thing. But that said, I think Rom kind of has revenge on his mind this week. So I think that if you're taking anybody from this pod, it's John Rahm.
You want to go? Rom, Kiridesh, Avibet? Feeling that frisky?
No, but we do have to figure out. We do have to figure out how we're going to do our Avibet. So we need to think about that for the end this week. Yeah. Also, you should definitely check out Matt's new Avi or Avi. Stenson is a wonder.
Luckily, I got to crop out Stenson's tighty whities in the circle for Twitter, at least, so that worked out for me.
Yeah, it's bad.
Ryan, are you just going Rom here?
Yes, I am definitely going Rom. No interest in the other guys here. I think the Barnrat thing's interesting because of how chalky he was last week, and he missed the cut. Yeah. But then he gets a $900 price discount. So on top of going against Rom, he is still going to be very, very popular. So absolutely no interest in this group besides Rom.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then as we keep going down, we got Spieth, Reed, Lee, and Schwartzel in group 4 here. Man, I mean, I know everybody, that whole thing was going around on Twitter today about Reed making that comment about Spieth to the rule official, which I thought was pretty funny, even though I hate Reed.
Really? I did not see that. I missed that somehow.
You didn't see it?
No. What are you talking about? I've been on Twitter all day. I don't know how I missed that.
He was talking to a rules official trying to get like free relief. I guess there's a sprinkler head on the ground or something, and he was arguing with the official, and he was like, "Oh, I guess I need to change my name to Jordan Spieth," something along those lines, to get the ruling that he wanted. So it was funny when Reed popped up in his group tonight.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
I don't think that Lee or Schwartzel has a legit shot, but I wouldn't be surprised with Reed or Spieth. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm definitely on Patrick Reed here. Both him and Spieth have the narrative playing in Texas. They love playing here. They're from here, that sort of thing. But Spieth just hasn't had it recently.
Yeah.
He's obviously looking ahead to the Masters. Hasn't had a lot of success in this event, and I think he'd rather just enjoy a week off and get to Augusta early. So Patrick Reed for me.
Jimmy?
It's hard to disagree. I don't know. You're gonna have to like differentiate somewhere and take a stand because like all the favorites are not gonna win. Like so far where this just seems to be our theme, and there are some areas where I know I'm gonna differentiate. But really it is one of those things that I don't have confidence anywhere else other than Reed. But I am concerned about how chalky he's going to be at 7,700, which makes I think Spieth an inherently valuable GPP play this week. If everybody plays Reed and nobody plays Spieth. So that's interesting to me.
Yes, yeah. I think that's going to be interesting because I was thinking the opposite. Early in the week when the pricing came out and Reed was so cheap, I also thought he would be super chalky. I still think people are afraid of picking against Spieth, though. So that'll be interesting kind of
I think people like to pick against Spieth, actually. I think they're afraid to do it. I think people want to root against him.
They want to root against him, but they're afraid of him.
Yeah, and I think that this is again sort of a unique event where if you do pick Reed, you're literally rooting against Spieth. Yeah. So that part of it is also like maybe you're going to
like they're diametrically opposed options in this particular tournament. There you can't have one good without the other, right? So that's why I think that wherever that ownership like needle lands, I think it'll be interesting to be on the other side.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So then in Group 5, this is where I think it could get a little bit more interesting, though. The price, I guess, for my favorite guy here might make it a little bit less interesting for tournaments and stuff. But we got Hideki, Cantlay, Smith, and Miyazato. I mean, I know that I'll be playing some Cantlay here. I think the long week I think Hideki's fine with the wrist, but I think the long week is sort of enough for me to be like, maybe I should not be thinking about him. And I just, it's never Keegan and always Cantlay for me. So, Ryan, what about you?
I'm going to make my bold call right now and say that Patrick Cantlay is the highest owned golfer of the week.
Yeah.
All right, then I won't play him.
So I will be playing Matsuyama. Yeah, I mean, he's always a trendy pick. People don't trust Matsuyama, especially after the injury, and he struggled last week. I mean, 7,400 for Patrick Cantlay? That's absurd. He's going to be very popular. I also think Cameron Smith is still going to get picked. People like playing him. He's under 7,000, right?
Yeah, he's 6,900.
Yeah, that's. But I think Cantlay could be the most highest owned golfer of the week.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I really like Cantlay's odds here. He was a Walker Cup standout. So I don't know, but I do like from a GPP perspective, everything you said makes total sense. I probably have exposure to both. Backing up real quick, the other reason why you should not play Patrick Reed this week, he's Andercursed.
Yeah, it was a pretty strong Andercurse too. Like usually I don't believe in it, but
it was definitive.
This is a lot to deal with.
So you got that going for you.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
All right. All right. I'm speeding through here, but I want to make sure we hit everybody. We then in Group 6 we got McIlroy, Harman, Vegas, and Uline. Vegas and Uline are at 6,700, so super cheap this week. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like what Jimmy just sent me, it looks like Vegas has a pretty decent match play record. So I don't know. I think that Vegas is one of those guys that can get streaky, and he just really can put a guy away if he's playing well. I don't know that it's enough to get past McIlroy, but if McIlroy struggles against one of the other guys and then Vegas can beat him, I think that that's a pretty clear way for an upset for a super cheap guy. But it's not something that I'm necessarily like banking on. Jimmy, what about you?
I think Rory probably just back-to-backs it here. So yeah. So I've noticed something, by the way. I've got my own little Andercurse going. If you've paid attention to the people I say either just aren't going to win, and or like Bubba, I said, nah, I don't think he's going to win, but to do all right, he won. Rory, no, doesn't have the form, doesn't pass the eye test, he won. So I don't know. If I tell you not to play somebody, you probably ought to go 100% on them. But I really like Rory to back it here. He's been very good at match play before. He can overpower this golf course, and if his putter stays even average hot with his ball striking, then he has the chance to go very deep in this tournament. I think Johnny Vegas is interesting from a local perspective, and he does have a just general good match play record. So that's interesting. He's played here before. He's got a lot of motivation to play well in front of sort of a home crowd, college home crowd. So that's interesting to me, but I don't know how far he could really take it. And there's just such a premium on you're going to have to be really, really you have to be on this weekend. I mean, it's going to have to be close to perfect, I think, to find yourself like really profitable. And I just don't think Vegas is going to be part of that lineup, so I probably won't play him, but maybe a little bit. Which means you should probably play Vegas.
Ryan's shaking his head.
He spent all that time talking about this pod and didn't mention the winner, Brian Harman. Come on, Jimmy. I am going.
I know.
Brian Harman here.
I know.
So I noticed a little bit of a correlation, and there's nothing behind this, just in terms of kind of where they finished. But Rahm and DJ finished 1-2 here last year. Rahm and DJ finished 1-2 at the Tournament of Champions. Brian Harman finished third. And Rahm and DJ finished 2-3 last year at Wells Fargo, which Brian Harman won. And he's a great, great match play player just over his career. He obviously hasn't played here, but in his career in college, in junior golf, that sort of thing. And he struggled last week a little bit, but he's playing great. I just think Rory kind of got his win. He got his confidence. He very much like Spieth is just looking towards Augusta and probably wouldn't mind jetting there a few days early. So yeah, Brian Harman for me.
All right.
Very nice.
That's sufficiently bold.
Yeah.
I don't know how bold it is. I think
I just hate Brian Harman.
I think it's just really sharp because I sort of just look past Harman a little bit.
Look at his price too.
At the moment.
He's cheap.
Yeah.
He's cheap.
Yeah, I think I'll be looking a lot more at Brian Harman now.
Yeah, that's my Cantlay pivot too, because they're about the same price. So
they are.
I mean,
the other thing that's interesting about this pod for everybody is it's being recorded literally right after we got all the groups and the pods. So everything is fresh for us. It's not we haven't had a bunch of time to prepare anything.
Yeah, we're just like I said, we're shooting from the hip here, but.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, we kind of had a feel with the pricing, and it's just interesting to see how the groups actually shake out. In Group 7, we have Sergio, Xander, Dylan Fratelli, and the darling from WGC Mexico, Sharma. Jimmy, I think I know that you're a bit of the Sergio boy. So is that where you're going here?
I mean, you're looking at my sheet that I sent you, so it's hard not to know where I'm going to go with this because he rates out really, really well. He has a, above 50%, extensive match play record at the WGC and just in general. He's going against, I think there's a lot of talent there, but I think a lot of it's unproven talent. And, sort of in a round robin format, I think that Sergio makes the best argument for who's going to get out of the pod. That said, Dylan Fratelli is very interesting, being a local boy and being a very talented European player. Like I said, there's a lot of talent in this pod. It's all unproven, and there's huge question marks. So I think it makes anybody really interesting from a GPP perspective because Sergio will be the absolute chalk of the pod. So if you have conviction or belief in one of these other three, then I think you could find a lot of leverage there in GPPs this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's Xander for me. I'll put in one for Fratelli just in case. I I don't know. I kind of feel like Sergio at that price will have some pretty decent ownership.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see. Ryan, how are you feeling about that group?
So not too much conviction other than I will not have Sergio. I think the elephant in the room here is, he just had a baby a week ago. He probably hasn't picked up a club at all. Very likely hasn't slept much at all, and probably wants to get back home. And again, all of this stuff leading up to the Masters where he's the defending champion, I just no interest. So I would be between Xander and Fratelli, probably leaning Xander a little bit. But the thing about Fratelli is he makes a lot of birdies. So that's interesting. He went to UT. So it would probably be one of those two guys for me.
That's fair. In Group 8 here, we have Jason Day, Oosthuizen, Duffner, and Hahn. This also was dubbed one of the most difficult groups by the announcers at Golf Channel because they said that about every single group. Jimmy, where are you leaning? Do you think anybody gets over Jason?
No.
Or I meant Day, not Duffner.
No, I think if anybody does, I think it's Louis. Louis finished really well here. I think he finished second here, or not second, second 2 years ago.
Yeah,
he's played well here. But Day missed this event last year. If you remember, he withdrew. This is when his mom was having a lot of health problems and stuff. So I think it's kind of personal for him. I think he's very motivated to play really well here. Unlike maybe some of the other elite talent that Ryan's mentioned they're looking towards Augusta, I don't think Day is maybe one of those guys. I think maybe he's looking at this event. So that makes him very interesting to me. I'll probably be heavily exposed to Day. Just because I think his overall upside to win this event is probably greater than maybe some of the other elite talent around his price. So that's my take on this general one. I don't think I'll have any Duffner or Hahn. Maybe a hedge with Louis.
How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, this would probably be one of the first pods we agree on. It's going to be Jason Day for me. Hahn doesn't have the firepower. Duffner's not playing well. Louis bombed last week, which was kind of a bad sign. And obviously Jason Day's won this thing twice. So he likes the format. He makes birdies. He's playing well. So, yeah, it's Day for me.
Yeah. Same for me. This group I thought was kind of interesting just from, maybe you could throw some darts here. I mean, obviously Fleetwood is sort of pedigree-wise and however you want to state it, Fleetwood is way up there, but you do have Berger, Chappell, and Poulter, all guys who are, either have pretty good experience in match play or just, can score in bunches and do well on any given day. So I think that I'll probably spread at least a couple of lineups through or a couple of, sprinkles of exposure through some of these guys. I do think that Fleetwood probably makes it out, but I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys made it out personally. Ryan, what say you?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I think.
Sorry, that was.
No,
that was Matt calling me. He's just trying to get an update. So, Poulter is always trendy. Just because of his Ryder Cup experience, that sort of thing.
Right.
I tweeted this as soon as the pods came out. I feel like Berger's going to win this. He's got plenty of experience. Not that he's done well in this event, but he does have the experience. And Fleetwood kind of took a step back last week. He battled back on the weekend, but he doesn't have a lot of match play experience. So I'm going to lean Berger in this one. But like you said, I would not be surprised if Fleetwood played well again.
Jimmy, how about you?
I agree right there with both of you. I don't think Chappell is my guy at all. I think Berger makes for a really interesting GPP play. I don't think he's going to be popular because of his match play record. People remember he did really poorly, and at the Ryder Cup last year, he only got like the 1 point. It was clutch, but he just didn't score as well as he wanted to. Fleetwood, I agree, took a step back, but Berger rates out really well in two of the models that I've run this week in terms of course fit. And what I think maybe is the most important thing in match play is strokes gained approach. Just when you're sticking it and the other guy's not, you're in their head. You're just everything's easier, and your rounds and the birdies come faster and quicker, and it's not a grind when your strokes gained approach is on, and it puts the pressure all on your opponent. So he rates out really well in one of my strokes gained approach models on comp courses. So I like Berger this week. He shouldn't lose strokes on the long par fours, which he does really well, and he should be able to score on the short par fours. He struggles with the par fives, but I think Berger makes for a really good GPP play here because Fleetwood, I think, will be very chalky.
All right. Group 10, we got Casey, Fitzpatrick, Stanley, and Henley. I don't really have like any conviction to go against Casey here, but maybe one of you guys do. Ryan, you have any thoughts there?
No, I mean, I'm a Fitzpatrick fanboy, but he has been just awful the past 2 weeks. I guess match play can change that. You know, he is a really good putter, so that can change it. But, yeah, Casey just seems to be a new man the last couple of years, so he's definitely the favorite here. But for sure no interest in Stanley or Russell Henley.
Jimmy, how about you? You going Casey?
Agreed. Yeah, I think Casey's another one of those guys that has the opportunity to kind of go deep here into the brackets past just this round, and I think he probably easily gets out of his pod. If anybody takes him out, I do think it'll be Fitzpatrick, and Fitzpatrick makes for a really good GPP play if Ryan, you're a fanboy, because I do think match play can change it, and he has like a 50% match play record here, so he's not a bad match play player. So if you have confidence or if you're just looking for a way to be different, I think he's interesting. But I think Casey's, I'll probably have quite a bit of exposure to him.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people are going to be a little disappointed that you always go with Casey, and then the 1 week that he sort of wasn't talked about as much, he ends up winning the tournament a few weeks ago. So that's definitely going to factor in with people missing out on him a few weeks ago. After that, in Group 11, we have Leishman, Grace, Bubba, and Surrey. This is another one where I don't really feel particularly strongly about anybody in particular. I think I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I guess if Surrey made it out, I would be a little bit shocked, but at least comparatively, I would be shocked if he made it out. But Jimmy, what about you?
I don't have a ton of conviction here. My initial lean is Bubba, just based on his match play record at the WGCs. It's over 60%, which is like dominates this pod. And he's starting to play better. So, I mean, that's probably where I'll go. But I don't have a lot of conviction in general in this pod. And I don't have like a great feel for any of these guys like making a deep run into this thing either. So I'm not sure I'll have like tons of anybody, but probably some Bubba.
How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, this is interesting. I definitely think, the top three here, Leishman, Grace, and Bubba, probably the most wide open pod. But the more I think about it, I would probably lean towards Brandon Grace, especially on DK with that price tag, which is really, really low. He excels on courses that are firm and fast and pretty wide open off the tee, which is what we have here. And I don't have stats in front of me, but I'm pretty confident saying he's the best putter of those three. So I would lean towards Brandon Grace a little bit here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that was sort of my initial reaction too. I think I said something about Grace. If you weren't following along before, I was trying to keep up with the show and doing some instant reactions that I think I got all the groups in. All right, we got in 12, we got Hatton, Hoffman, Steele, and I always want to say Levi, but I know it's Levy. Ryan,
I think it's Levy, actually.
Levy?
Yeah, this is another one that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I think it's Levy. This is one that, again, is pretty interesting. But just in terms of, just kind of overall mindset, we're in Texas, and when I'm in Texas, I roster Charlie Hoffman. And he makes a lot of birdies, played great last week. He had a double bogey late, which dropped him out of the top 10, which dropped me out of a lot of money. But He's playing well. He makes a ton of birdies. So I'll say Charlie Hoffman.
Sure. Jimmy?
I don't disagree. I really like Hoffman's price tag. I do think that makes Hatton an interesting play because I think Hoffman's probably going to get ultra chalky by the time we go to lock. He's a decent match play player. Again, all the things Ryan said. So I think that you could find Hatton at some lower ownership who probably is who is a good match play player himself and who rates out pretty well in what I'm looking at. So I'll probably have a little bit of exposure to Hatton to maybe be different. I don't really have any eyes for Steele or LeVay.
Got it. All right. Yeah. We got Noren, Finau, Peters, and Na in the next group. I swore to myself that I would stop doubting Alex Noren, but now he's with Finau. So now, like, I'm on skates. Like, I don't know what to do with myself right now.
Dude, do you really trust Finau to, like, knock down a 10-footer to, like, shut somebody out? I think the answer is no.
You're just a hater, Jimmy. Whatever.
I'm stating facts here. The guy, like, do you really trust? I'm asking the question. Do you trust him to knock down a 10-footer to put somebody away?
I think Finau has the personality that he could perform well in a match play scenario. How about that? I think he can get fired up. I think he has a little bit of like Reed minus the douchiness, like that sort of feel, right? I don't know. I could see it. If you want to go Finau against somebody for an Abby bet, I'm more than happy to.
So let's do it. I'll take Noren and you take Finau.
Oh, that's minus EV for me, but all right, I'll do it.
Well, you wanted Finau bet in a pod. There you go.
Fine. All right. Fine. All right, Ryan. How are you feeling in this pod?
Yeah, that's interesting. Three guys who I circled kind of before the pods came out were Noren, Finau, and Peters. so it's kind of annoying, but I think, again, just kind of thinking about it in general, it sets up really well for Finau in terms of he's going to get to hit driver wherever he wants to. If he makes an 8, who cares? And he makes more birdies than the other guys, which is interesting. I also think, he's kind of a fringe Ryder Cup selection. And I think if he plays well and shows that he likes the format, plays well in match play, we could see him in France this fall. He's got a lot to play for.
Love it. You're making me feel pretty good right now.
Yeah.
If you want to get away from anything and a guy that's got a lot of upside in a format like this is Thomas Peters. So if you're looking to be different, and I think he'll probably come in really low owned, which I'll probably have some exposure now to talk about it, is Thomas Peters. Tons of upside, really volatile, but like sort of like we talked about Finau. If he has a really bad hole, who cares? Because he makes a ton of birdies and he has the talent of all the big guys.
Yeah. For DraftKings, Peters will be the lowest owned in this pod. I think Na will actually be the highest owned. He played really well last weekend, and he's basically min priced, which is kind of strange.
Yeah.
And he's known to like frustrate his opponents in match play because he's so effing slow.
Yeah, because there are no superstars in his pod. I could see Kevin Na winning this pod easily. Yeah. So, that's an interesting one too.
All right. Now you guys, like, you started to make me feel better there for a minute, Ryan, and then you kind of made me nervous.
No, I would take Finau in the pod. All
right. In group 14, we got a couple left here. Mickelson, RCB, Satoshi Kadira, and whatever. He's not going to win it. It doesn't matter. And CH3. So I don't know. What was RCB was third here last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a little bit of history in this format. But I would bet that Phil would come out of this grouping. Ryan, what say you?
Yeah. Obviously, it is a 2-man race here. But I really like Rafa, just how he's playing. He plays really consistently and makes a ton of birdies. And so I think more consistently than Phil. He's a better putter than Phil. It'll be one of those two guys. I have Rafa on my card, actually, so I'll stick with him.
All right.
Ditto.
All right, easy enough.
There you go.
Great. All right, 15. We got this is I think is probably my favorite grouping here. We got Perez, we got Gary Woodland. I just gotta take a pause for my boy Gary for a minute there. Webb and Siwoo. So I think this could go any fucking which way, and I would not be shocked either way. Jimmy, who do you think makes it out of here?
Dude, I don't even know. I mean, I want to say Pat Perez, just because I feel like he probably plays well in this format, despite maybe his like just marginal history. He's got like a 50% history here, but Woodland is the guy I think people will go to, and I don't know. I think Woodland had his great run, and maybe he's not. I don't know. It's hard to say. I have a never Webb rule, so it's. I don't like anybody in this pod really. Siwoo Kim could do his like once in every 200 time thing and fucking win the whole event. I don't know. I'm gonna play Pat Perez, and I'll probably just leave it at that and not get too cute in this pod.
Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, these are four guys who I don't like to play, but I actually do have a strong feeling here. And again, sticking with match play, you need birdies and the best putter. The best putter in this group is Webb Simpson, which is very, very strange to say. But I have a strong feeling that he gets out of this group.
All right.
Am I going to have to amend my never Webb rule?
Well, I mean, you can fade this. Yeah. I mean, this pod's pretty wide open. You can fade it pretty easily.
Do we think that anybody, regardless of who wins this pod, do we think that this probably is the least likely winner to go far, I would think, right? Just from like an overall group perspective.
You say that, but like really you bring up a really good point with Webb. And as much as I'm biased against him because it's cost me like a significant amount of money in the past, he really does have a lot of incentive. I think he withdrew from this event previously. And I don't know, on paper, like he really does make a ton of sense. He rates out really well in my models. I just am biased against him and like always just want to look right past him. But if I'm being objective, he is the better play than Pat Perez.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way, and I took a while to actually get on board with him being a good putter, but he is. So yeah, I definitely like him a lot. I think kind of back to what you said, Matt, trying to figure out who could go far. Like when you do these brackets, you have to almost like tell yourself a story and just kind of, right. And just kind of go with it. So, I mean, I said earlier that I think Luke List could win his pod. Well, he would play the winner of this pod. So it's possible that, Webb Simpson then gets to play Luke List and he's in the round of 8. So, you just got to stick with the story and go with it.
I like it. All right, and
we haven't even like started to get into like the stuff that really matters. It's like once you get out of the pod and like try to get deep into the tournament, we're only at like level 1 analysis for this event.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, last pod here. We got Kuchar, Fisher, Ikeda, and ZJ. Ryan, I feel like I know where you're going. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, this is interesting. Wow, because Ross Fisher actually has a ton of experience in match play, has played well here, plays well in WGCs, but I think Zach Johnson's the guy. He won his group here the last 2 years, if I remember correctly, and he's been really solid the last month. So I would say ZJ.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking too. Jimmy, what about you?
Yeah, I can't go to Kuchar. He's been playing like garbage. Again, like same Fitzpatrick thing. I mean, that could theoretically change with match play and format being totally different and all, but I think Johnson's really interesting. His game has turned around quite a bit from last year, and he seems to have like gotten comfortable with where he's at with his irons and his driver and gotten everything like in his bag the way he wants it after he got like mad and dumped it all out at an event last year. His game has been trending upwards steadily so. So this is another one of those wide open pods. I'm trying to figure out who's going to be the lower owned guy because I do think that Fisher and Johnson both have like upside to go a little further into this event.
Sure. Yeah. I like ZJ's course fit too. You know, he plays well when it's firm and fast. You know, he won a British Open. He plays well in the wind. He's a good putter. It just all kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, last thing before we get out of here, we do have to update our one and done. You did make up some ground on me last week there, James.
Yeah, buddy.
Not too much ground, but a little bit of ground. We have as things stand right now. You actually overtook Evan. Didn't realize. 1.34 million for Ev, 1.35 million for you, and I'm up at 2.2 million. Ryan, you dabble in some one and dones, correct?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'd be close to the lead if not for last week. I'm about 3 million right now.
Nice.
But last week I had Stenson with Paul Casey as my backup pick, so that was painful. But yeah, about 3 million. I had Rose last week, so I'm not in your contest, but I probably wouldn't burn a stud here just because of the format. So I'm probably going to take either Zach Johnson or Webb Simpson this week. I'm not sure which one quite yet.
Gotcha. Jimmy, just a friendly reminder. We do have to pick. We don't have to do it on the show because we got to get out of here. But we do have to pick on FGM the Punta Cana one and done also. So we don't need to burn anybody for that. So it doesn't matter.
Oh, it's gonna be Flores.
Yes.
No.
No, just take Griot and move on.
I think that. Yeah, honestly, I think that's what it's gonna be. You know, there's a whole bunch of like ways you could really go here with your one and dones, especially now that we're getting into the part of the season where you're going to have to think about who you've already played. You know, I'm not sure where I want to go yet, to be honest.
Well, tout accountability. We got to make sure we get that out to the people so that we don't get any more complaints.
Oh yeah, I'm influencing ownership left, right, and center.
That's fine. We can tweet that out during the day tomorrow.
No, I'll make my pick. I'm not real confident in the direction I want to go, but I think I'll probably go with Day. Because I don't believe I've used him yet.
Interesting.
Yep.
Very interesting. Yeah. God, I'm so bad at this that it's like almost comical. You know what? I'm trying to think of somebody who I won't really
stick with Finau, man. You're on the Finau train.
I know who I'm using Rafa. As I look down, that's definitely who I'm using this week is Rafa.
You know what? I'm gonna go a little bit off the board, and I think I'm gonna go Hoffman.
Interesting. Mr. Texas.
Yeah, there you go.
I think I'm going to go with that. And since it's a WGC, the dollar amounts are doubled, so we got even more riding on this right now. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Ryan. We really appreciate it. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you probably knew Ryan and or Wiley before us, so you can head over to Golflandia. I guess it comes out tomorrow, correct?
We'll be recording as soon as I sign off with you guys.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Always good to chat some golf. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts throughout the week.
Awesome, man. Thanks again. And Jimmy, as always, you suck, and I hope that you lose the Avi bet for once.
Hey, the only thing I'm winning is Avi bets, okay? So
yeah, go Finau.
I got to keep myself afloat morally.
All right, boys. Thanks again. See you.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah.